everyone. Welcome to Friday Live. My name is Ellen. I'm with Blackbirds and Limited in Joliet. And on Fridays, we tell you what's happening in the store and what's happening outside. Well, if you're like us, you've been totally enjoying the bird buffet that we've been having at our feeders. Just lots of birds. The orioles are coming. Had a couple hummingbirds, but it's just been so fun. This time of year is like Christmas for us because there's so many new birds that are coming, so many birds that are visiting our feeders, so many birds to see out in nature. It's just almost better than Christmas, in my opinion. We sure do love our birds, and we love all the visitors that are coming in spring and summer. So I'm sure you've seen our posts this week that I started, meet the catbird, meet the indigo bunting. All these birds that I'm posting are birds that only visit us in spring and summer. So it's kind of a cool thing to learn the sights and sounds of those birds that might be visiting your backyard. Because many times I hear, oh, there's this little bird making a really cool sound and they're visiting my house. What kind of bird? Well, I sure could guess what bird that you are potentially having in that house. But it's kind of fun when you can learn either the sight or the sounds, the songs and their calls that they are making so that you can ID them too. And it's really fun. I have learned so much about birding by ear, the sounds and calls that they make, that it makes it really fun to, one, use Merlin ID. It's a free app that you can put on your phone or a tablet, and it can ID birds in 3 ways. So it can ask you 5 questions and it will try to guess the bird that you're seeing. You can take a photo or upload a photo and it will ID the bird based on that photo. Or my personal favorite is IDing the bird by song, and it's in real time. So when you push play, it's recording all the sounds that it's hearing, and if it picks up any birds that it notices, it will ID it for you. It's a really cool app. It's made by Cornell. I'm going to show you what the app looks like. It kind of looks like this, and there's 3 different ways. I absolutely love it. And one of the best things about this app too is that if you check out some of your recordings, right? I'm pulling up one I did the other day in Shorewood. This is at Hamel Woods. And for example, let's do the Eastern Peewee, because the Eastern Peewee is also really fun. Maybe we got to do this bird, but you can pull it back up and not only see the picture, but you can also replay the song. So let's hear what the wood peewee sounds like. Ooh, that was a little bit loud. I love the sound on peewee. They say their name, peewee. Peewee, did you hear that? So it's really fun. So it's a really great way to learn those bird calls that you're hearing right in your own backyard or front yard, or while you're on a walk out in one of the wonderful preserves that we have here in Will County, okay? So today we're going to talk about something that's been talked about quite a bit today and this week. And the big thing I want to talk about is how to either defeat or severely slow down our blackbirds. And before I get started on that whole topic, because we're going to go through all the ways that we can eliminate them in our feeders and definitely slow them down. But before I give you all those tips and tricks, I thought we would go over our events so I don't forget. Plus, we have so many good events coming up. Tomorrow, we have our native plant sale with Possibility Place Nursery. They have, I want to say, 35 plant species that they are bringing, and that's just that are going on tables. There are trees and shrubs that I don't think are counted in that number. But a huge selection of grasses, forbs, trees and shrubs, and on top of it, the Kelsey Shaw and a couple other people from Possibility Place Nursery will be on site to help answer questions and just be here as a native plant expert for your use. Use them as a resource. They are experts in their field, and if you have those pressing questions or need to know, hey, I have this area and this is what it's like, they are going to give you the best recommendations of the plants there. Other really cool thing, because I talked to Kelsey tonight when he dropped off tables for tomorrow, he told me that there are some species that were going to be in person here at this plant sale tomorrow that are not yet available at the store at Possibility Place. So we kind of have a really awesome experience and an opportunity to get plants firsthand before anyone else gets them. So really cool opportunity. Again, come and shop. He's gonna have a variety of sizes, mostly pints and gallons are most of his sizes. He will have some flats available, and you can mix and match kind of thing, or take a whole tray of what is available. So pricing will all be listed. He has signs that will go on the tables. Again, it's going to be right here in front of our store, so you can come and shop the plant sale, come shop the store, but they're only going to be here until 2:30. So be sure you come in from 9 to 2:30 to take advantage of that plant sale. The following week, I'm presenting on hummingbirds, all about hummingbirds. So if you want some tips, tricks, or just want to generally know more about our hummingbirds in our area, this is the presentation for you. If you could call and let us know that you're coming so that we can plan for that event. That is the following Saturday, the 31st at 11 o'clock. But then June's happening, and a lot of our June events are already, all of them are pretty much listed on our website, but on Facebook, I'm slowly getting them out there. But I just wanted to give you a couple heads up on some events that are happening in June before we get started on Blackbird Defense, okay? So first happening June 7th, this is going to be an evening program at 6 p.m. We're doing a miniature bookcase workshop. Oh, I should have brought it out here. I have one in hand in my office, but if you check out the photos, you can check out our event page and check that event out, and you'll see the photo of the one that I have. But you are going to essentially make that bookshelf and decorate it up with little knickknacks that Catherine's Creations is going to be providing. It's a $15 per person charge for it to do the activity, but it includes pretty much all your the materials that you'll need to do the activity. There will be some extra special goodies that are trinkets that you can purchase the night of that would be extras for your bookcase, but that's just something to add on, right? It's not pertinent to the look of the exact bookcase. You will have plenty of items to choose from. On Monday the 9th, June 9th at 9 o'clock, we're meeting at Rock Run Preserve on Black Road to do our Monday morning monthly bird outing. So bring your bestie, bring your kids, bring grandma, whoever. It's a great time to see a wide variety of species. I've seen everything from the eastern meadowlark to bluebirds, orioles, hummingbirds, you name it, at Rock Run right here behind the store. So it's a really great place, and I'm really excited to see what else we see as we get through the summer. But then we also are going to have another native plant sale in June with Good Steward Ecoscapes on the 13th and 14th from 10 to 4 p.m. in June. And also on the 13th, we're going to do another create your own native plant container garden workshop. So if you saw the photos or saw that event last time and couldn't make it that weekend, this is your opportunity to get in on it. It should be really, really fun. It was so fun last time. We had a great time. I hope you can join us again, or maybe you're new to it and you just want to check out how much fun it is. You definitely, absolutely call the store to make your reservation for that because it's limited seating. All right, so be sure you call the store and reserve your spot. But also in June, we will have a cat and kitten adoption event with St. Sophia's. That's, I believe, on the 21st of June. And at the very end of June, we're having a pop-up with a local crafter called Katie's Crafts. And she does a lot of personalized shirts that are very bird nerdy. She has a really cool selection, like, I'm sorry I'm late, I was watching birds, or Mama Bird, I get distracted easily by birds. Everything that's kind of up my alley for clothing wise is she has all of that. But she also has some really cool spinners that she does herself and makes the prints on them. So a couple of them I saw were like hummingbird. They were absolutely stunning and beautiful. So I cannot wait to have Katie to come by on that. That is the 28th, I believe, the 28th of June. And that is pretty much a really quick rundown of all of our June events in one shot. But again, I will be finishing posting them on our Facebook, and I'll put Katie's pop-up on our website likely after the weekend, around Tuesday-ish, okay? So we do have some new items, but I'm going to leave them till the end to talk about it. We have some back in stock items that I know you guys are going to be interested in, and then I have some things that are going to be coming in this coming week that I know you guys are also going to be looking for. So we'll talk about that at the very, very end. But let's get to it. Let's talk about Blackbirds. Let's talk who they are, who are the players we're talking about, and how we can defeat them, okay? So first up, I want to show our native blackbirds and the two that most commonly visit feeders. Excuse me. There is another one that I did not print out, and that is the brown-headed cowbird. They are technically in the blackbird family, but the two I hear most often about are these two. All right, grackles and the red-winged blackbirds, okay? So let's talk about grackles first real quick. Grackles are probably a little bit bigger than the red-winged blackbird, but up top here is the male, and he is most notably, you can see that iridescent blue in that head, and that is what is notorious for them. Okay, down here is the female, and she's not as glossy as he is, but if you look closely on the picture, you would see a little bit of that blue, a little bit of those iridescent colors kind of coming through, but it's definitely not as showy as the male. Absolutely beautiful if you enjoy blackbirds. But another keen field marking and thing to look for is this yellow eye that he has. Okay, both of them have that, and that is pretty distinguishing because other blackbirds in the blackbird family do not have that yellow eye. So it's pretty cool. So that is one of them. The other one that we hear most commonly at feeders is the red-winged blackbird. If you've ever been here at the store, you can see many of the red-winged blackbirds that visit us here at our feeders. They are pretty prevalent. I think a little bit more prevalent even than the grackle here, but every yard is going to be different, right? So the red-winged blackbird, the male, is that beautiful blackbird with that beautiful orange and yellow wing bar that's on his wings. It's absolutely stunning. His call is pretty hard to miss. They have a pretty unique call, and they do sing it quite frequently to let you know that they're there. Red-winged blackbirds will fiercely defend their territory, especially males. So if you're near their nest area, you may get dive bombed, so be careful. Stay out of the territory, right? But this one down here is actually the female red-winged blackbird, and I know it's such a big difference. And in fact, if you weren't looking closely, you might mistake it for whether it's a very large sparrow, because it is about the same size as the male, or maybe, just quickly looking out the window with that white racing bar on her eye, that eyeliner, you might even think female rose-breasted grosbeak. But a big identifier for the female here is her bill. You can see that pointy bill that is so distinguishably a red-winged blackbird bill. Okay, the grosbeak has a much thicker cardinal bill, right? Thick bill, big, honking, seed cracking bill, all right? Red-winged blackbirds have more of a long, pointy bill. So same with house sparrows or other sparrows, they are going to have a much shorter bill. So that's kind of a way that we distinguish species from each other, is sizes and colors and markings on their bodies to help us distinguish one over the other. So keep an eye out for these guys at your feeders. But another one that is notoriously at feeders is our European starlings. Now, European starlings are non-native, so they're not like these guys, right? Native, they are meant to be here. These guys are not. These are from Europe, and they were brought over by a guy that just wanted to have all the birds from William Shakespeare's plays and writings here in the new countries. So they brought it to the Americas, and now we have hundreds upon thousands, if not millions, of starlings in North America. So there's a couple different photos here, but this top picture is our European starlings, an adult in winter plumage. So in the winter, you may have noticed them. They have the white spots on them, and they're still kind of bullies at the feeders. This one down here, and I'm sorry it's not such a great photo, is what they look like now. They have that yellow bill. It does change color from winter to spring and summer. And in the breeding season, which we are now, they kind of have a purpley green iridescence to them. So they are quite a beautiful bird as well, but nonetheless, they are kind of bullies. These guys down here are the juveniles, and you might start seeing juvenile starlings at your feeders any day now, but they do look much more tan in color, and in fact, they will get that winter plumage on them as well. So they kind of are born ready to rock for winter coloration. It's kind of a distinguishing factor, so we know, oh, they're a youngster versus the adults, right? So these are the main players when we're talking about blackbirds at the feeders. These guys are the ones that we're talking about. These are the blackbirds that I'm most frequently answering questions about on how to defeat them or at least severely slow them down. They are the players, okay? Now, blackbirds, red-winged blackbirds, brown-headed cowbirds, they traditionally are more seed-eating birds. They are less likely altogether to kind of bother with suet unless it is made of poor quality, meaning it has a lot of grains in it. The starlings, these kind of blackbirds, our red-winged blackbirds and our grackles and our brown-headed cowbirds will usually leave suet alone as long as it doesn't have a lot of grains in it. So sometimes if you buy like cheaper box store suet, if you see it has like a lot of seeds like millet, red millet, white millet, sunflower seeds, corn in it, you will sometimes attract these guys unintentionally. Okay, so if you go for a little bit better quality suet, you might be able to take them out all in one, right? But these guys will primarily visit seed feeders because they are primarily seed feeders. So seed eaters. So it's one of those things that's tricky with them. Now starlings, on the other hand, will pretty much eat anything. You know, anything that they can consume, they will eat. And what they're looking for primarily at feeders is soft foods, meaning food out of the shell, like no mess blends. Peanuts out of the shell, soft and easy to take down, right? Suet, bark butter, it's all easy foods, and that is what they are looking for. Now, a lot of these birds are migrating up, like our grackles and the red-winged blackbirds. They migrate here because they're coming here to nest, raise their young, They also know the north has an abundance of insects. And yes, blackbirds eat insects. They eat tons and tons of insects. No matter the species, they're eating insects, and likely their young are eating insects. Yes, you're right, Joe. The blue jays will chase them away unless you got kind of a scaredy cat blue jay. But most of the time they will. They will hold their ground and try to keep them at bay, from their feeder. Now let's talk about some solutions to defeating or severely slowing those starlings and blackbirds down. I agree. They can totally go to town on a no-mess cylinder. They can go to town on a regular cylinder that has more shells on it. It's just what happens is regardless of the species, the blackbirds love to eat with friends. Okay, they'll bring the whole gang in, family, friends, extended family. They call them in, and everyone wants to eat together. So what we can do is, because we know some things about blackbirds, we know some things about starlings, we know their likes and we know their dislikes, and we can use those things against them to keep them kind of at bay. All right, and all these tips that I'm giving tonight are not talking about taking your feeder down. We're talking about still offering food so that not only your regular birds will still enjoy, but we're offering food to deter the blackbirds, deter the starlings, or severely slow them down. Okay, it may take 2 or more of these solutions to totally exclude blackbirds from your feeders or your setups. Okay, sometimes your space is going to limit the solution options. Okay, sometimes it's just going to take 2 options to get the desired result. All right, so I really recommend, if you hear something that resonates with you or want to learn a little bit more, tonight's presentation is literally taken from our website. So if you want all, like, the rundown again, you didn't hear quite correctly, yes, you can listen again, but this is all on our website. I've done a lot of work to make sure that you have all this information right at your fingertips. Okay, you can go on and go to Blackbird and Starling Solutions and learn the same material I'm going over today. All right. Yes, there's a different one you can buy that will still attract all the birds, but eliminate those blackbirds and starlings. So we're going to go over that right now. All right. So one way that we can eliminate starlings and blackbirds at our feeders is by excluding them. And what I mean by excluding them is literally putting a barrier between the feeder and the blackbird. Let me show you. Here's an example, and here's an example. I grabbed a couple of them, but essentially it's a cage, right? This one is for peanut pieces, and this one is actually a cylinder feeder that's in a cage. Now these cages come in a variety of styles. We have ones for seed tube feeders, we have ones for suet cages, we have ones for seed cylinders like this one. I have ones for trays that are for platform trays for the ground. I have ones for pretty much mealworms, things like that. We are excluding blackbirds by not allowing them access to the feeder because the feeder itself is caged. This is a great option if you don't want to change the food, but you want to exclude them. The downside to using a cage is sometimes certain birds are excluded, like your larger birds, like let's say blue jays. Cardinals may even be a little bit finicky to go through a cage, even though they are able to go through our smallest square, the 1 inch, okay? Sometimes they just don't want to do it, right? And that's okay. Everyone is a little different, right? But the idea is that you can keep your high-prized no mess in a seed tube and cage it. Not changing the food. It's still everyone's favorite food, and the small guys can still enjoy it. Your woodpeckers, depending on the variety of feeder that you're using, can still access this feeder. Woodpeckers have a long, usually, depending on the woodpecker, either their bill themselves allows them to go in even extended and chip out that seed. Downy woodpeckers are proficient at going in seed cages like this. In fact, our downies here, we have a seed tube that's caged that we use finch blend in, which is a mix of sunflower chips and Niger. And we are using the cage primarily to keep the squirrel away. But obviously the downy goes in there and eats out of finch blend too. So that's that. I know, Melanie, I know, because here at my store here and at my house, a suet cake, the starlings can demolish it in one day. Easy. Cylinders might be more like the 2-day mark, but it kind of depends on how much of the flock gets to it. But normally my seed cylinders in my house on the typical are lasting maybe a week at most, just because of the amount of birds that I'm getting. So number one, exclude them. Use cages, certain feeder accessories we can use to limit access to the feeder altogether, right? So it's just going to not only prevent them from accessing it, hopefully the not having access to that feeder might alone drive them away. Okay, let's talk about slowing them down. Now, again, slowing them down with feeder solutions, these are going to be, I'm missing one. Food. Let's change food first. Okay, let's offer foods that are less appealing. So the big one that I want to talk about is safflower. This is your option, Joe, okay? Safflower is the problem solver. And it truly is the problem solver because traditionally, before we had hot pepper, we would use safflower to deter the squirrels. But safflower is great at deterring blackbirds and specifically starlings because safflower itself, whether in a compressed seed or loose, right, or loose, this little seed has a very, very hard shell. So starlings aren't really capable of cracking the shell. So they're really not able to eat it. Now, the other blackbirds, the red-winged blackbirds and the grackles, who typically are actually seed eaters, they may be able to crack that shell, but it's actually bitter to them. So most of the time, they don't like it. And unless it's literally the only thing to eat, which is usually only when we get towards the end of the season, insects are less, available, things like that other foods are not as available, they're going to turn to the options that they have. So safflower works really, really well. Now, if you haven't used, Joe, and if you haven't used safflower in a while, it will be bitter to them. I use safflower in places when the blackbirds come, and I will take a hot pepper one, half eaten, off and throw it into my freezer and put out a safflower because I know the safflower is going to stop the blackbirds, and after a couple days of them seeing that this is the only thing that I have out there, they're going to move along. And I do use a couple options, and I'll talk about that. Well, I have a couple different solutions in my yard that I'm using to feed all the other birds, but try to be less appealing to the blackbirds and starlings. All right, so you could try it. It's definitely a bitter seed. My squirrels don't even check the cylinder feeders anymore because they know I usually have hot in them. But I've never seen a squirrel in my yard that is eating safflower. Now, if you typically do use safflower and the squirrels get to a point where they need to try some of it, they may try it and eat it just because they have to. Maybe they have babies that they need to feed, or it's the only food available at that time. The squirrels will suffer because they they're going to want to eat, obviously, and survive and live, and this will be a tricky one. The cool thing about safflower is that, yes, we have it in loose seed, we have it in seed cylinders, but I also have it in different cake forms. So I like these seed cakes because they fit perfectly in suet feeders. So if you're like me and have a ton of suet feeders because over the years you've just collected them, these are a great alternative to use. This is what we call a seed brick. So this is obviously at least twice the amount of seed, but you need a specific feeder for this. It works kind of in our picnic basket, or we have some other kind of options that you can use this kind of feeder food for. But with safflower, so safflower on its own is kind of not appealing, right? It's a bitter seed with a very, very hard shell that most of our blackbirds either don't like or they simply cannot open. But let me tell you, when you put any of their least favorite foods in a cylinder form or in a cake form, it is like their worst nightmare. Because not only is it that very hard little seed, but now it's all stuck together and they have to work it out even more so. So it really is a great way to beat the starlings and blackbirds by just switching everything over. And I mean everything, right? You can't just mix in a little safflower in with your Supreme or Choice Blend or no mess. It has to go all straight. And I mean straight for a couple weeks until at least they move along. Okay, so that's why when I was talking about with my hot pepper cylinders that I typically use in my backyard to defeat the squirrels, but everyone else likes them. When the blackbirds come, I pull that half-eaten cylinder out and I'll stick on a safflower. And I use the safflower straight until they move along. And then once they move along, sure, I'll pull the safflower and put the good stuff back out. But the idea is that I am making it so that there are only so many options of food that they are going to like and that they can get to. All right? I'm not mixing in my loose seed with my peanut pieces, with my no mess. I'm not doing that. Okay, when we're trying to defeat starlings, you got to go all or nothing. We got to make it forcefully known that they are not welcome here. Okay, not to say that, you know, here at the store we feed everyone. There is a feeder for someone, everyone. But at my house, on my dime, absolutely not. A little bit different. So that's a great way to do it. My recommendation too is to perhaps cage a feeder or use an eliminator, which I'm going to talk about soon here, on how to use an eliminator to limit the amount of birds. And in my eliminator, I'll put my high prize no mess, my nesting blend, the most seed blend that everyone is loving. Excuse me. I'll put that in a no mess in my eliminator, or I'll put it in a cage feeder, right? Put the most prized items that you don't want to have to change out, right? That nesting blend, that nesting cylinder that everyone loves, especially the blackbirds. But then some are able to use it, and then in other places use the safflower. Okay, so the ones that are open. Now the good thing about safflower is that cardinals love safflower, top favorite seed. Grosbeaks love safflower. Woodpeckers, nuthatches, chickadees, finches will all love safflower and totally enjoy it. So you're not going to exclude birds by using safflower. You are going to exclude blackbirds, but that's the point, guys. That's the point. All right? All right, let's talk about other foods that we can use to exclude them or be very much less appealing. All right, remember we talked about suet and that some of the blackbirds will eat suet, especially if it's made of low quality and it has a lot of grains in it. Okay, so our suet, not just simply suet, but all of our other Wild Birds Unlimited suets, they don't really have grain in it. Unless we're switching over to the no melt variety, which does have a corn base. That is about the only grain you are going to find in our suet. We don't have seed in our suet. We have peanuts, we have fruit, but we don't have the grains that you will find like millets in sometimes in suet. You find black oil sunflower seeds in suet, which I've always thought was kind of funny because suet is for insect eaters, right? It's almost an insect replacement, right? So I'm not sure why we combine insect food with seed. Kind of seems a little silly because most of our insect eaters are not necessarily seed eaters. You know what I mean? But Simply Suet works really, really well at deterring blackbirds and starlings because it has no grains, no fun ingredients like peanuts or fruit in it, no mealworms, nothing like that. All right? This is just pure rendered beef tallow. All right? So your insect-loving, suet-loving birds, woodpeckers, chickadees, nuthatches, all those guys will still go to town on this. Obviously, it's not as appealing as a fun PB&J or nuts and berries or woodpecker suet. But if the choice is either don't get any because the starlings eat it all, or have something out there that at least they can have, that's a great option. And again, you could always, put this kind of food in a tail prop feeder or a regular suet cage feeder, open for everyone, that everyone can get to it. But then we can use, say, an upside down suet feeder, and I'll show you that. And put a high prized fun suet in there, okay? But Simply Suet works really well. Now the downside to just plain pure rendered beef tallow suet is that once we start getting into higher temperatures, it can get a little messy, right? So I recommend either use it in cooler temperatures, like kind of like today, or use it in a shady area. Okay, so this does not come in no melt. It is only available in the rendered beef tallow version. All right, so if this can work for you, we can work with you. But we have some other feeders that we can use to keep blackbirds at bay, and still use fun suet. That's not necessarily just Simply Suet, all right? What else? Peanuts in the shell. Peanuts in the shell can be very tricky to starlings because they really don't have a bill designed to get in and crack seeds or shells from peanuts. This sometimes actually works against red-winged blackbirds too. They sometimes can't figure that out, or at least it's less appealing, more work and less reward. Grackles, however, can figure it out. In fact, I had a customer not today, but this week, that told me that her grackles, at least one of them, had figured out that if he threw the peanuts in the shell in the bird bath, it would soften the shell and make it super easy to get the peanuts. So like I said, the grackles are smart, blackbirds are smart, and they can figure some things out, but at least we know that some of the European starlings and some of those other blackbirds, it will be at least slow them down and not be as appealing to them as, say, peanuts out of the shell. All right? Let's talk about slowing them down now. This is where we're talking about changing or modifying the feeder that we're using to still offer fun food, but we're going to slow them down by the mechanics of the feeder. Again, this is not necessarily the defeat them all, right? It's not going to completely stop them. There are some birds that can figure out tricks to defeat some of the tactics, but again, it's usually some, meaning like maybe one or two birds in the flock that can figure it out. Maybe it can also stop them because only one may fit on the feeder. One can only have access. So right there, we're making it less appealing because they can't eat with the family. They can't bring all the friends and family together and have a Memorial Day barbecue in the backyard at your feeders. All right, we're going to slow them down, and only one or two can maybe hang out because they can maybe figure it out, or but we're definitely slowing them down, and prevent the massive amounts of blackbirds and starlings from demolishing all the food in a short period of time. Okay, they're not going to be able to eat a whole suet cake with a upside down suet feeder, right? Maybe they can eat a small bit of it, but they're not going to be able to go to town on it like a regular suet feeder. Okay, where they can just sit on top and eat below and all that. Now, this suet feeder, upside down, it means that the birds come and cling upside down and hang. A tricky task for some of those heavy, big blackbirds that do not have the tail, the foot grip to cling and hold their body weight for long periods of time upside down. Yes, they may be able to sort of underneath a little bit, but I mean small amount of time. They're not getting the whole cake in an hour. Okay, this is going to take them maybe a week to even get a small quarter of the cake. Okay, so we're slowing them down because it's less appealing and it's playing to their weaknesses as birds. Okay, they can't cling as well upside down. They like to perch. They like to sit on those trays, right? They are typically ground feeding birds. So if we can play to their disadvantages, we can kind of slow them down severely. All right, let's talk about another one that's going to severely slow them down, and these are our clinger-only feeders. So again, because there are no perches, there's no ledges to sit on, these feeders make it super easy for smaller birds or that are really capable of clinging, and we're basically just using the blackbirds' inabilities against them, okay? So we're going to reduce the number of blackbirds at the feeders by using clinger onlys. So this is one of my favorite feeders, is the suet cylinder feeder. It mimics, just like out in nature. My red-bellied woodpecker absolutely loves this feeder. I cannot wait because the females come in. I hope she brings her babies. And like last year, it was so much fun. The dad would bring the babies over. It was such a sweet time. But this feeder, because it has no perches, no ledges to sit on, yes, they have to cling to this or maybe these small holes to eat from. And yes, I have never seen a blackbird being able to sit on it for long periods of time. Maybe a grackle or a red-winged blackbird can hold its weight for a small amount of time, but they're not sitting on it like my red-bellied woodpecker or my other woodpeckers who thoroughly enjoy this feeder. Even my chickadees can hang for long periods of time, cling here and eat all the suet out of here. But the blackbirds, and especially the starlings, they have a very tricky time with this feeder. Yes, maybe one or two can figure it out, but they're not. We are stopping the masses. They're not going to be able to go through the food like they will when the whole gang can eat at the feeder. Okay, so it's going to slow them down, not only because they can't hold their weight and they can't eat at it as they would other feeders, but two, we're slowing them down because the masses can't do this as well. Okay, it's not as easy as other feeders. Another good example is this feeder. This is back in stock, by the way, if you didn't see, but these are our new suet plug feeders. This one is kind of upside down, but we do have one that's vertical, and the plug is going this way. It is a cedar log, and again, they not only have to cling upside down, but it's just a very tricky feeder. So this works really well too at slowing them down. Bark butter feeders, we have a couple that are clinger only, meaning that they have these grooves, there is no perch on them. It's meant for birds to cling on the side here and eat that bark butter. Again, without that perch, it makes it very tricky for birds like your blackbirds and the starlings to eat from the feeder. It makes it very, very tricky. Another great one that I like to use, and I have used in the past, is using the flying bistro feeder. So this is a seed cylinder feeder. Yes, you can put loose seed underneath here, but the thing that makes it really great for eliminating blackbirds and starlings is that this roof can slide down. Okay, when we lower that lid and allow a smaller gap, we are physically kind of making it a tighter space and making it more difficult for the blackbirds to eat from it. Yes, it's not going to be a completely problem solver. It's not going to completely eliminate them. Some of them are going to be able to get in here. But again, the whole flock can't eat at the feeder. Maybe only one, maybe only two. So we're slowing them down. Plus, it's very unappealing for them to be able to get into this space. If you ever have this feeder and lower that lid and try to watch it, it's actually quite entertaining to watch them try to get up into here. They can do it, but it's very, very challenging for them. All right? Now let's talk about the eliminator. Let's talk about how I use this to defeat some of the blackbirds and starlings that visit my yard. So traditionally, this eliminator feeder is a squirrel-proof feeder, right? But the fun thing about this feeder and a couple other of our products that are squirrel-proof feeders is that you can adjust the weight tension. Meaning I adjust my eliminator so that only one blackbird can eat at this feeder before those ports close. Right? If too much weight comes on here, like a squirrel or maybe 2 or 3 blackbirds on my feeder, it will instantly close the ports and no food is accessible. All right, so by adjusting my tension, I'm allowing my cardinals, everyone else to eat from it, even a blue jay. One blue jay can eat at a time here, but this is where I put my high prize no mess, my nesting super blend, whatever high priced food. This is the feeder I'm using it in, especially when the starlings come. When the starlings come, everything else that's accessible, that's not in a cage or not in a squirrel-proof feeder, is safflower. The things that are in cages and the things that are in my squirrel-proof feeders are all a high-priced seed blend. The highest no mess, the highest nesting super blend. It's kind of what I'm using right now a lot right now. And that I'm using in my illuminator because I know everyone, especially the blackbirds will like them and go to town on that seed, but I'm slowing them down because only one is able to eat. Now, when I do that in my yard and severely slow them down by eliminating them at certain feeders, by only allowing one to eat, putting out foods that are very unappealing, the flock moves away. And it may take a few days, but they go away because they know that likely my neighbors aren't as savvy as I am and with the tips and tricks on how to defeat them. And they're offering the foods that they will eat. So they can go to the neighbor's yard and or maybe the next neighborhood over, and then I can still feed the birds that I enjoy, the whole flock, and not have to worry about the blackbirds eating all the food in a couple days, and then I have to go back and buy more food. Okay, we're slowing them down or eliminating them completely from the feeders so that other birds can eat and we can enjoy more birds. All right. So again, like I said, we might have to use more than one solution to solve the problem completely, but the tips are here. We are here. You can go online and read all the same tips that I just went over today right on our website, okay? And you can learn all about the tips and tricks in more depth. But of course, we are here to help you. So if you want to come in, describe the problem, describe your yard, we'll go through the options and figure out a way that we can feed all the birds and not all the blackbirds and keep the birds that you love coming back. All right. Let's go into it. We have some new things. Some of them are feeders. Some of them are more decor. But first of all, I wanted to let you know that I know a lot of you are asking about new flags and new mat mates. And those are coming in next week. So keep your eyes open. I'll try to do a post on Facebook to let you know that they're in. Or if you'd like to call the store and be put on a list to call when they do come in, you're more than welcome to do that. But also back in stock is our jelly and some of our favorites. So jelly is back in stock. We were out of stock of it for a small portion of the time last week, but it's back in stock now. And then the oriole flower feeder, which is very, very popular, and the single cup oriole feeder are also back in stock. But we've gotten a new, very cool oriole feeder that I love. I love it for a couple reasons. So it's very similar to our flower feeder, right, or the single cup one. Very similar, but this guy, it does have this outer holder for the cup. It is made out of the Eco-Tough material, which, if you didn't know, is made out of recycled milk jugs. So it's a really cool, sustainable product. But yes, there is a hanger, so you can hang it in a tree, on a shepherd's hook, on our pole system. But yes, this one you can fill in that dish with jelly. Out of season, I like to use all my cup feeders for bark butter bits or bark butter, or a little bit of seed mix that is really high priced, like maybe winter super blend, like when we're in the winter, put a little bit in a cup and it's kind of like treats for the birds. But this is a really cool feeder because it's all orange. Remember I talked about making a lot of orange colored noise, make the feeder orange, put out all those orange accessories. This is a great way to attract orioles because you're using that color that they are so attracted to. All right, now one of their favorite foods is, of course, jelly. Make sure that you're going for that all natural, no artificial preservatives or sweeteners. Look out for corn syrup in your jelly, but more natural is best. It keeps the birds healthier and coming back for more. All right, small and a little bit goes a long way with orioles. That sugary food can spoil very quickly, so be sure that you're only using a couple tablespoons at a time, or as much as the orioles will consume in about a day. And then refresh it frequently. All right, some important tips. Now, another new feeder that has come up that has seriously drawn a lot of attention, and personally, I think they're just the cutest, is our new grill style feeders. Yes, I've paired it perfectly with our hot pepper foods because I think a feeder like this, potentially if you're not putting it on a pole system with a baffle, could be loved also by your squirrels. So if you use hot pepper foods, that will kind of help deter the squirrels from messing with your new awesome cool grill feeder. This is a hopper style feeder. So a couple things I love about this feeder is that it stores the seed in a really tight container with a good lid on it that will keep the seed inside dry. It funnels down here to this little dish, and I don't know if you can tell, but there are lots of holes in it for lots of drainage, so it has good drainage. And this heavy duty hook here is so good. It's such a good hook, and this is also where we're going to unscrew it so that we can open it to fill it. Now I'm going to show you real quick what that looks like. So after we took the little hanger slash the little screw top off, we're going to pull this lid off, and this is where we're filling. It's a little tricky without two hands. There we go. All right, so in here is a beautiful hopper. So I grabbed the black one, but we have it in 4 different colors. Comes in green, red, blue, and then black. And I just think it's so cute, not only for summer, but Father's Day is coming up. And I know this would make a really cute gift for pretty much anyone that's either a dad or that enjoys summer bird feeding. This is going to be an awesome gift. So there is that, and then you just put that back on and twist this back on, and it is ready to go and hang back out at your feeders. If I can, this little hanger, this tag keeps getting in my way. There we go. There we go. We tighten it back on, and it's good to go and be hung back out there. So great little feeder. We have kind of a limited stock on it. We're trying them out, but I think they're perfect for this time of year, but also perfect for any dad that loves to grill. And then I want to show you, because we have some new door hangers that I wanted to show you. So I think we've had this one. This is a great summertime watermelons. But then, of course, we have some more Memorial Day, American themed door hangers that are loved, so loved by people. Hook. Work for me. There we go. Put that there so I can use two hands. So these two are made out of kind of a compressed wood material. Great for door hanging. This one, though, is the one actually I took off of our back door here. This is made out of a kind of a fabric material with a wire hanger. It is so cute and huge. I don't even think I almost am covered by it. It is just so big, but beautiful nonetheless. So we're coming up on Memorial Day. I wanted to, one, thank all of you that have served, and most importantly, take a moment to remember and thank those who have passed and perished in the line of duty or after their service, because without you and all the serving that you have done, we wouldn't have the great country that we now have. So thank you so much if you do serve. Thank you to those that have served before us. And I do wish you guys all have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow is our native plant sale at Possibility Place Nursery. If you haven't checked our plant list, there's about a little over 35 species of plants that are going to be available. But also there are going to be some species that are not even available at the in-store shop at Possibility Place Nursery. So we're kind of having a limited early access to some species of plants. It's a wide variety of container sizes from pints to gallons. And of course, you are more than welcome to check on our Facebook and our website for all the details on many of the other events that we have coming up as well. And of course, we hope you have a wonderful weekend. Come in the store, let us know what you're seeing. We always love to hear about your birds and how much you're enjoying the birds. But of course, if you have some problems like with your blackbirds, come on in and we'll help you out. We'll get them straightened out and deter them or severely slow them down, whatever works for your yard and your setup. All right, guys, unless you have any questions, I'm going to go right now, but we'll see you back next Friday around 5:30 p.m. to tell you what's new and happening at the store and what's new and happening out in nature. All right, guys, you have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Bye now.